Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to our Fortuna series on everything you wanted to know about the MBA, but may have been afraid to ask. Today, we're going to answer the question which basically every candidate ultimately confronts at the very early part of the funnel, which is this: is the MBA worth it? And to talk about that topic, we have a director from Fortuna Admissions who has nearly 30 years of experience in admissions, marketing, and student life. She had been an associate dean at Chicago Booth. More recently, she worked on the admissions committee in Stanford's MSX program, and her name is Patty Keegan. Patty, incidentally, is one of many Fortuna admission consultants. Fortuna is all about creating a dream team of professionals who've been there, done it inside the best business schools, and is now on the other side helping candidates get in. Patty, welcome.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
And good to see you again. So obviously, there's always a lot of hand-wringing about the value of an MBA. It's a big investment for an individual. In the US, primarily, it's a 2-year experience, which means for 2 years, you're on campus and in residence, and therefore you have to quit your job. So there's the opportunity cost of leaving behind a paycheck. And then there's the tuition and the fees and living expenses that go on with that. So let me just ask you straight out, is the MBA worth it?
It's not an easy answer to that. I think I would say yes to start off. But really the MBA's worth is, it depends entirely on someone's, professional profile, their career aspirations, what they do once they're in the program, and what they do once they're out of the program. So there are a lot of different things to consider worth. Obviously, as you mentioned, the worth has financial implications, right? Is it worth the time and money that I put into this endeavor? But there are also professional benefits to doing an MBA program. Building of confidence, it's a transformative experience. So there's a lot of different aspects to consider. But overall, yes, it is worth it as long as you're considering all these various aspects of the experience.
So let's talk about the main benefits, because I think, what a lot of people do, which I always think is a mistake, is they go to the employment report and they look at the starting salaries and sign-on bonuses, and they make a calculation in their head. It's a real short-term view and merely a monetary view of the degree, as opposed to a view of looking at the degree as a life-enriching experience, a long-term investment that's going to serve you well over your entire career, not just for a few years. But let's talk about those main benefits. How do you identify them? What are they?
I think the main benefits are, let's start with the personal piece first. I mentioned a moment ago that going through an MBA program is very transformative. So first and foremost, this is a learning experience. So think about yourself as a student and what you're going to gain from that perspective. Also think about the network, the people who are sitting beside you and learning from you. That's also an important benefit of a program. So your personal growth, the network. The MBA is also it's a signal to employers and to others that you've put a lot of hard work into something and you've invested in yourself. And as you said, invested for the long term. And I'm a firm believer, I think I believe you, that education and hard work really can lead to really good outcomes in someone's life and make for a happy and successful life.
I think that, so also sometimes you might not think that you're going to meet people who you want to have around your dinner table for the rest of your life. So you're going to make friendships that are both personal, but also professional, because, you talked about the networking aspects, but you can't underestimate how valuable it is to have a network of like-minded, ambitious individuals who are going to be real achievers.
Mm-hmm.
And those people is a huge benefit throughout your entire career.
Right. People who you can call on. You move to a new city. Maybe you're starting in a new market or a new industry. And you have those people who know you and have gone through the experience with you, and that's extremely valuable. One of the greatest things about sort of being a long timer in this industry is you have the ability to see people when they're in the program, kind of raw in the program, they're excited, and then you see them 5, 10, 15 years after the program, and they're making strides in their careers and they're nurturing their networks. And that's really extremely valuable. And that happens. And I, sit here and I've seen that time and time again over the years.
And a key part of the transformative experience is not merely learning the basics of accounting, finance, marketing, and strategy. It's developing the leadership potential in you and the self-confidence to take risks. Talk a little bit about that and how that is often, a sort of underlooked piece of the puzzle for candidates.
Yeah, again, we just keep coming back to this word transformative.
Yeah.
There's so many things that go into the 2-year experience, or if it's a 1-year MBA, that candidates can't see on the front end, right? So both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, the things that you learn and the people that you meet add, substantially to your development. And I don't think candidates think about that. I think some think, okay, if I go to this school, my salary is going to be, my starting salary is going to be X. Then 2 years down the line, I'm gonna, I'm gonna do all these great things and make all of this money. And I think the people, the interaction with the network, I think that's overlooked, and how someone changes as a professional, as a leader, like you said. There's a lot that goes on during the experience, and it isn't just learning more accounting and finance and marketing, although that's important. But the people, the development of your leadership and other abilities is probably even more important in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at my own career and I remember the experiences that were essential in literally sanding down the rough edges
Yeah.
that I had. As a first generation college graduate, I didn't have the benefit of being at the table with educated people who were professionals in the world, the white collar world.
Mm.
So my experiences in sanding down those rough edges was absolutely essential. And I think that's what an MBA program does. If you need rough edges sanded down, or if you need sanded down already, edges polished, a
Right,
business
right.
school is a great place to do this, right? I mean, you're going to learn how to make a persuasive presentation
Mm.
to a bunch of critical, discerning people. You're going to learn how to collaborate with people who are not like you at all and collaborate successfully. And you're going to learn how to take calculated and smart risks.
Mm.
And these are things that only a business school teaches. No other school in the academy teaches you this kind of thing. They'll teach you the basics of the subject, but
Mhm.
not this polishing, this sanding down of the rough edges that a business school gives a candidate to present them to the world and make them more likely to be highly successful.
And I'd also highlight the risk taking that you mentioned, calculated risk taking. Business school is a great environment to take those risks. We often call it's a safe environment because you have those people there who hopefully believe in you, not just your professors, but your classmates. And as I said, it's a safe place. Try things, be open to new experiences, new knowledge. A lot of entrepreneurs grow or get fine-tuned during their business school experience as well. So that's a really great point.
Yeah, and with the rise in experiential learning, which actually gives students assignments that they have to work on and projects and present often to outsiders, it's almost more like a clinical experience for a med school student where you're practicing, but without the dire consequences that could very well occur to you in the real world, right?
Right, right. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it for sure. The experiential piece is so important these days in business schools. Yeah.
Now, Patty, let's say I'm in a career and I'm not merely unsatisfied or disappointed in it, I'm not doing well. Is an MBA a magic bullet for a student's career?
Short answer, no,
Oh,
it's not a magic bullet. It certainly helps. I often said to students, and still do when I'm working with clients at Fortuna, you get out of the experience what you put into it. So getting in the door is one thing, it's challenging, but you have to do some hard work when you're there too. Not just go to class, watch your grades, do all of that stuff, but you need to build and nurture your network when you're there. I often talk about, having a strategic plan for your MBA, which sounds kind of calculated, but it's important to know what you want to do when you get into school, what kind of activities you're going to be involved in. You're going to be faced with just so many amazing things that you have the opportunity to participate in, and being very, very careful about how you go about that 1 or 2 year program. It's really important.
The other thing about the MBA, and it does go to this point that you just made, is it is a tool for reinvention. So many people who get an MBA degree transition into a entirely new and different career. It could be an industry change, a company change, a discipline change, a geography change, or all of them at once. And I don't think there are many other opportunities in the world to do that in your late 20s. And there are certain parts of the world, in fact, where that's almost impossible, where your fate is laid out before you and determined
Yes.
at a very early age. And this is one of the magical elements of a great MBA program.
Yeah, getting back to that transformative experience, I think we've used that word a half a dozen times by now. And it's something candidates don't think about on the front end as much. But those of us who have the ability to see that transformation during the program and then after an MBA program, it's really a special place to watch that happen.
True. Now, Patty,
Yeah.
what sort of career outcomes can someone graduating from a top school expect? I mean, there's a wide range of opportunities that present themselves to an MBA candidate. But
Mhm.
let's go through this.
Different types of career outcomes. We mentioned a moment ago about career employer reports, right? Those are important. I wouldn't overlook those. I would go to your target, schools and see what they report, what types of industries, what types of jobs the candidates are able to go into after school. That's absolutely important. Other types of outcomes, I think a lot of it is qualitative. I think a lot of it is also confidence building. It's also having that network. I keep coming back to that network of classmates and professors that you'll be able to interact with during the program. There's people you can call on after many years after the program. Those are all important types of career outcomes, in addition to the sort of what salary am I going to make when I get out of business school.
Right, or whether you'll be an associate in a finance firm, a consultant at one of the big
Yeah.
consulting firms, or a product manager at Google or Apple or Microsoft.
Right.
And increasingly, the MBA has become an all-purpose degree in the way that law had been in the past. You see people going into government jobs, nonprofit jobs, NGOs, of course, the other business disciplines that attract fewer MBAs, like a real estate or consumer products or healthcare. So it's kind of like a utility knife to bring with you on a camping trip, don't you think?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different paths that an MBA can take. Very often on the admissions end, we would get questions as to what's an ideal candidate, what's an ideal MBA candidate. And the answer was there really isn't an ideal candidate, right? There isn't an industry that they come from or a sort of a cookie cutter type of experience before they come to business school. There are so many different paths that MBA candidates come from. And then, what they do after business school can be, as you mentioned, all these different industries. It can go in many, many different directions.
Right. Now, we spoke about the network before, but I wonder if you can actually get a little more specific about what it means to be part of an alumni community of a top business school.
Right. First of all, it's getting back to that signal, right? It's a signal that you have gone through a very important transformative experience. You've invested time in yourself, right? So that's number one. It sends a really great signal. And then it's also something that you can rely on for life, right? People that you've sat in the classroom with, people that you've, stayed up all night working on papers and presentations. They know what you've been through. Even those who you haven't sat next to in the classroom, alumni who have been out of the school for quite some time, know about that experience. It's sort of a bonding experience, a signal is what I always
Definitely.
talk about, right?
Yes.
And then, just nurturing the network to be a little bit more specific. There was this student I worked with at Chicago Booth many, many years ago, and her sort of strategic plan coming into the MBA program was that she was going to have coffee with as many of her classmates as possible. And even the classmates that maybe wouldn't be sort of, typical connections for her, she really made a point of spending that 2 years nurturing her network, going out, asking questions, being curious, being open, taking as much from her classmates as she was giving to them. That's really important, is making sure that you give back to the network as much as you take. So help people is what she's pretty simple, right? Give back
Totally.
as much as you receive.
Now that's a natural networker for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So in your experience, what type of student gets the most benefit out of an MBA? Because after all, as you pointed out in the beginning of our conversation, it's not for everybody.
Mhm. I think realistic students, realistic candidates get the most benefit. Not expecting the MBA to be a magic bullet, being prepared to put in a lot of hard work. Also, coming back to the idea that these are academic programs. So students who are interested in learning, these are schools after all, right? You're in a classroom, you want to learn. So people who are open to learning, open to new knowledge, and also getting back to that risk taker, people who are interested in doing that, taking advantage of, the 1 or 2 years that they're in the program. I think those types of candidates are the ones who reap the most benefits from an MBA program.
And I should say, some people have a hesitation when they see the price tag of an MBA program. And I wonder if you can reassure them about how much money there is out there in scholarship and fellowship aid to help people defray some of the cost.
Yes, yeah, that's a really important point. We haven't talked a whole lot about the price tag, a little bit at the beginning, but absolutely, there's scholarship money out there at all of the business schools that you're looking at. And we work with candidates at Fortuna to kind of help in that respect, to kind of put the best foot forward, the best profile of our clients, to be able to access that scholarship money. Most top schools, scholarships, you're considered without having to jump through a lot of other hoops. You're considered for merit scholarships. That's our experience.
So don't let the price tag scare you away.
No, I mean, absolutely, it's a huge part of a consideration, but when you're looking at MBA programs, but there are ways definitely to defray the cost.
So, Patty, if a candidate would like to get in touch with you or one of your colleagues at Fortuna, what should they do to connect?
Well, they can send an email to info@fortunaadmissions.com, or go to our website and find all of our profiles there and what we do. And we've been around for quite a while, about 11 years, going on 12 years. And easily find us on the website.
And you could ping them at info at fortunaadmissions.com.
Absolutely.
And Fortuna has a great website with a lot of information on it, so you should check that out. Well, Patty, thank you so much for spending your time with us. And I hope all of you out there are in a place where you know the MBA is worth it for you and you're willing to take that first step. And if you are, contact Fortuna and one of Patty's colleagues to help you along on the journey. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. You're watching the Fortuna series on everything you need to know about the MBA, but may be afraid to ask.